So, I popped into High House Insurance to see if they could quote for my house insurance rather than using the internet. High House got a great deal. So to celebrate, I bought a posh hairdo. It made me look beautiful, gorgeous enough to become a highly paid model. I then won Celebrity Big Brother. I had an affair with an MP. Now I'm promoting a doll of me that says, "Cool blimey, you're well fit."
Happy things happen when you talk face-to-face with High House Insurance. See if we can beat your home insurance quote from the internet. Find us on the High Street, Selsey, or call 606 552.
Hello and a very warm welcome to Manhood Internet Radio. I'm Tony Wiener, your host for this show. Now we have a packed show for you this week, which starts with Alison's roundup of things to do in the area, followed by answers to last week's quiz. Now, just as we leave Christmas, some people are thinking about Easter and the revival of a great Selsey favourite, but more about that later. Now, another favourite is the welcome return of David and his gardening tips for the weeks ahead. After that, we will go to Keith's kitchen for more good grub, and like a good meal where we want a bit more, Kevin poses another tricky tester. So let's get underway, and it's over to Alison for a roundup of events in the area.
Hello there once again. Welcome back to What's On in Selsey and around the Manhood Peninsula. So first of all, we're going to have a look at the town of Selsey itself. On Wednesday the 25th of January, the Model Boat Club will be meeting if the weather permits. They meet from 4 o'clock until 8 o'clock down at East Beach Pond. And then in the evening, it's time for the Selsey Community Choir between 7 and 8:30 in the evening. They rehearse at the Methodist Hall on the High Street. On Thursday the 26th of January in the morning, between 10 and 11:30, Mobile Soft Play will be having a session at the Selsey Centre. As usual, if you want to contact them, you need to speak to Sue or Tom on 604 642. Moving on now into the evening, at 7:15 it will be time for the Manhood Trefoil Guild. They have their AGM and whist drive today. That's being held at the Selsey Centre. And also at the Selsey Centre between 8 and 9 o'clock, adult kickboxing will be taking place. That's the Selsey Centre, 8 until 9. On Friday the 27th of June, in the afternoon, at 2 o'clock until 3:30, it will be time for mindful music making. That will take place at the shop on the High Street. If you're interested in booking for that, you do need to speak to Anna. Her number is 07912 609 437. That's Anna on 07912 609 437. Also in the afternoon, this time 2:30 until 4, it will be the U3A monthly meeting. That's held at the Selsey Centre. And their speaker this month is Mike Callow, and his subject is Isambard Kingdom Brunel. So that should be of great interest to all the engineers. That's the U3A on Friday afternoon. There's the usual Darby and Joan. They meet between 2 and 4 on Friday afternoon at St Peter's Church Hall. And then on Saturday, don't forget the two regular events, the Venture Bus Garage Sale between 9 and 12 behind the Co-op, and also the Scouts Charity Shop between 10 and 12. On Sunday the 29th of January between 11 and 2, how about Someone to Guide You? This is not about the guide dogs, but it's about the birds. Meeting at Ferrypool Hyde on Pagham Harbour, friendly guides will help you to spot and identify the wildlife that you might see. That's a drop-in session and it is free, so do go along to the RSPB at Pagham Harbour for Someone to Guide You. On Tuesday the 31st of January, how can it be the end of the month already? The Mobile Soft Play will be having their session between 10 and 11:30 at the Selsey Centre. Again, Sue and Tom, 604 642 as usual. The Selsey Carers will be holding their coffee morning at 10:30 in the morning at 109 High Street. And then in the afternoon, it will be time for kids kickboxing. That's for ages 4 to 6 at the Selsey Centre between 4:30 and 5. And then the over 6s meet between 5 and 5:30. So that's it in Selsey this week. Let's move across now to the Witterings and Bracklesham and see what will be happening there. On Wednesdays, There's table tennis drop-in for play and adults only. That's at Bracklesham Barn between 10 and 12. At the same time, CBT motorcycle training takes place at the barn between 9 and 11. Now, you do have to pre-book for that. Belly dancing with Step Inside happens at the barn between 1 and 2. And then later in the evening, it will be time for Zumba with Louise between 6:30 and 7:30. There's line dancing at the Royal British Legion between 7 and 9, and all will be very welcome at that. There's also a special on Wednesday for ukulele players. It's called a ukulele jam, and all uke players are invited to go along to Bracklesham Barn. That's between 7 and 10 in the evening on Wednesday the 25th. On Thursdays, the Busy Bugs Toddler Gym have their activities at the barn between 9:15 and 12:15. And there's Stitch and Yarn at the Witterings Medical Centre between 10:30 and 12:30 at lunchtime. Also on Thursday, Knit and Natter meet at East Wittering Library between 10 and 12:30. If art is more for you, then why not try the Witterings Master Art Group? They meet between 10 and 12 at West Wittering Memorial Hall. If you want a little bit more activity, there is a Keep Fit exercise class at East Wittering Village Hall between 2 and 3. And there's also West Wittering Short Mat Bowls. Couple of sessions there, one between 10 and 12 and the next one between 2 and 4 at West Wittering Memorial Hall. If you're interested in going along to those, then contact Chris. His or her number is 07788 111 325. I'll repeat that, it's quite long. 07788 111 325. If stretching is more for you, try Pilates. That's between 6 and 7 at East Wittering Village Hall. And there's also a private ballroom and Latin class at 7 o'clock East Wittering Village Hall. If you're interested in that, then it's a website to go on, www.strictlydancinguk.co.uk for private ballroom and Latin. For the youngsters, the Junior Youth Club between 8 and 12 years of age meets at the Youth Centre between 5 and 6:30. And then the seniors, following on from that, 12 to 17-year-olds, again at the Youth Centre between 6:30 and 8:30 in the evening. And don't forget on Thursdays, it's open mic night at Pond Barn. That starts at 8 o'clock in the evening. Now on Fridays, Pilates again at the barn between 9:30 and 10:30, and in the afternoon, short mat bowls at Bracklesham Barn 2 until 4. Coastliners line dancing happens between 2 and 5 at East Wittering Village Hall. And don't forget the UK Film Academy at the barn between 5 and 9 on Friday. It's also time for the jukebox night at Pond Barn between 7 and midnight. Again, there's private ballroom and Latin at 7 o'clock at East Wittering Village Hall. Same website to book on, www.strictlydancinguk.co.uk. On Sundays at Bracklesham Barn, the Windrush Church have their meeting. That's between 10:30 and 12:45. And then in the evening at East Wittering Village Hall, it's time for modern jive dancing. That starts at 7:30 and lasts until 9. And it's quiz night at Pond Barn, beginning at 8 o'clock. On Mondays, Little Ducklings have their mother and toddler group at the barn between 9:30 and 11:30. And at the same time as that, there's short mat bowls between 10:30 and 1. If you feel you've eaten too much over the Christmas period, then why not consider joining Weight Watchers? I'm sure you'll have a warm welcome there. That's at 5:30 at East Wittering Village Hall on Mondays. And then if you do want to keep fit, line dancing between 7 and 10 at East Wittering Village Hall. There's also yoga with Elaine at the barn between 7 and 8:30. And ARO Ladies Beginner Kickboxing with Verity, again at Bracklesham Barn between 7:30 and 8:30. Every Tuesday it's time for Little Explorers Play and Learn Together at the barn between 9:30 and 11. And there's meet and greet at West Wittering Memorial Hall. They meet and greet for coffee, games, homemade soup and a roll between 10:15 and 1 o'clock on Tuesdays. Yoga with Elaine, of course, at Bracklesham Barn between 10 and 11. And in the afternoon, there's a Keep Fit exercise class at East Wittering's Village Hall. That takes place between 2 and 3. For something very gentle, what about Tai Chi at Bracklesham Barn between 4 and 5? And there's also some music. There's a community pop choir meeting at West Wittering Memorial Hall between 7 and 9. There's the badminton club too at Bracklesham Barn between 7:30 and 9:30 in the evening on Tuesdays. And is the free pool at Pond Barn also. So that's the roundup for the week. Let's have a look now at the all-important weather and the tide times so we can see when are the best times to venture out. Wednesday the 25th, we should have a high of 5 degrees, that's 41 degrees Fahrenheit. We're promised sunny intervals with a 12-mile-an-hour southeasterly wind. Thursday the 26th, temperature rising to 7 degrees or 46 degrees Fahrenheit, again sunny intervals. Much higher wind speed, 17 miles an hour, that will be a south-southeasterly. On Friday the 27th, temperature rising still further, this time up to 9 degrees C, 48 degrees Fahrenheit with a light cloud cover, 14 mile an hour south-southwesterly wind. Saturday the 28th, the temperatures will be holding steady at 9 or 48, but this time thick cloud, 15 mile an hour south-southwesterly wind. On Sunday the 29th, our all-time record for the week, 10 degrees Celsius or 50 degrees Fahrenheit, so we are definitely going in the right direction there. Light cloud cover, 16 mile an hour wind southwesterly. And on Monday the 8th, slight drop in temperature down to 8 degrees Celsius or 40 degrees Fahrenheit, again with light cloud, 12 mile an hour wind, but the wind direction will have changed and that's a northerly wind, so I think I can safely promise you that Monday will feel cold. Let's look at the tide times now for those people wanting to walk along the seafront. On Wednesday the 25th, we should have a high at 9:25 in the morning and a low tide at 3:30 in the afternoon. That will change through the week, finishing on Tuesday the 31st with a high at 1:15 at lunchtime and a low tide at 7:10 in the evening. So that's about it for our weekly roundup of what there is to do. Hope out of that lot you find something that you enjoy, and I look forward to talking to you again next week. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Alison. Plenty to keep us busy. Now, something I'm sure you've been worrying about. Here is Keith with the answers to last week's quiz.
Right, and here we go with the answers to last week's quiz. How did you do the week before? Quite a tough one, that one. Right, here we go. Who played the role of Jack Bauer in the TV series 24? Well, that was Kiefer Sutherland. Prior to Lewis Hamilton, who was the last British driver to win the Formula One World Drivers' Championship? That was Damon Hill. Who did Louise Nerding marry on the 29th of June 1998? That was Jamie Redknapp. Which Austrian composed the Blue Danube Waltz, the Emperor Waltz, as well as the operetta Die Fledermaus, and was known as the Waltz King? That was Johann Strauss. And which singer was at number 1 for 4 weeks in February and March 2002 with the song Hero? That was Enrique Iglesias. And the connection is, they all followed in their father's professions. Hold on, Kevin.
Excellent, thanks Keith. More perplexing puzzles later. We now go over to Alison with a fascinating piece on a local take on an international event.
Hello, it's Alison Gaunt here with an update on what's happening with the Passion Play. You may remember that I spoke on this radio station, well, it must be back in the summer, I think, about our idea of setting up a Passion Play as a community drama for the people of Selsey next Easter. Well, next Easter has now become this Easter because we're in 2017. So suddenly it's all become a little bit more imminent. So I thought I'd give you an update on what's been happening and how we're getting on so far, and also perhaps to gain some of your support. I've been asked to say a little bit about the history of Passion Plays. Well, this is all new territory for me. As far as I was concerned, Passion Plays was something that went on in Oberammergau every 10 years or so, and funnily enough, I have now had an invitation to go and see the next one, so I may well be popping over to Austria to go and have a look at how it's really done. But I suppose street drama in Britain started off in medieval times, and that was with the guilds, and they would produce a series of mystery plays as we know them now. These were largely for people who of course couldn't read or write, and they would get to know the Bible stories through these dramatic reenactments by the guilds, and you've perhaps seen pictures of them taking place on the back of carts and on street corners and in the marketplaces of our towns and cities. And the ones that survive today are two very famous mystery play cycles, the ones in Chester and the ones in York, and those are the ones which they still put on, and you can still go and see them, and if you wish, of course, you can still take part in them, although I don't think you have to be a member of one of the guilds to do it. So that's where the idea of outdoor religious drama came from. And there has been quite a revival of late in this idea of looking at ways to present these old stories outside for people in the community. Ours has been written by people from Selsey and developed over the years. It's been going for some years now. Written in this instance by Mike Beale, although I think he has done work on previous copies before. And the idea is that it's just for the people of Selsey by the people of Selsey. So it's got to be something very homegrown and truly amateur in that sense. So not one of us is a professional actor or a professional musician in that sense of the word. We're simply people from the community attempting to put this on as a group together. We're drawn from all different sorts of backgrounds, and we are representative of each of the four main churches in Selsey. We've got people from East Beach Evangelical Church, people from the Roman Catholic Church, people from the Methodist Church, and also people like myself and David from St. Peter's in Selsey. And we have the support of all the clergy and of all the four congregations, as well as a few people outside the town as well. So far since I last spoke to you, our main development has been the music. I wanted to incorporate music as an integral part of what we're doing, and so I approached two musicians in the town I know, Geraldine Allchurch and Fran Jones. Fran is the organist at St. Peter's, and Geraldine is a member of Vineyard Church in Bognor, and she's a professional music teacher. So between them, they've written some exciting new pieces of music for us, and they've developed some old pieces as well and rearranged them. And we have three very able musicians to join us. We have Peter on accordion, Linda on clarinet, and Joey on fiddle. So we have live music and our very own rewrite of some music. We've also got local people in the cast, and my latest recruits actually come from the RNA. David and I spent a very happy evening last Wednesday down at the RNA, where of course we had to join in with the age-old tradition of Pusser's Rum, so that was great fun. So if you want a good evening, I suggest you join the RNA. They were brilliant. And I did manage to recruit some sailors to be soldiers, if that makes any sense, although as they pointed out, I presume the Roman army did have to travel by boat, at least when they came across to Britain. So I managed to find some Roman soldiers there from the RNA. And I'm hoping to draw people from all parts of the community to be part of what's going on. I do have a number of singers and a number of extras and some principal parts, but actually I'm rather short-handed of people willing to take on the larger roles. So perhaps if that's you, or perhaps if you know someone, maybe in your family or someone you perhaps know in the town, then why not have a word with them? I'm looking in particular for our lead role, someone to play the role of Jesus Christ. I need someone also to play Pontius Pilate and someone to be Judas. He's the one, I suppose, that we've all heard of. We also need people to be part of the crowd scenes, in particular a very angry crowd. That would be good. I need 2 thieves to be alongside Jesus and plenty of extras. There's nothing much to it really. You don't have to have a background in drama, but just an interest in doing something as part of an outdoor community team. So maybe if in the past you were in SACOS or one of the other amateur dramatic societies, then why not give it some thought and perhaps you'd like to join us. So I've got people in the cast, I've got people making props, I've got people being extras, people who are singing. And the other really good news is that we've also managed to secure some funding for this project because, of course, nothing in this world is for free, as you probably realise. One of our greatest expenses is going to be the PA system. But over the last few months, I've come into contact with all sorts of people in the town, one of whom, Malk Garda, runs a professional sound company, and he very kindly is going to come and do the sound for us. So I'm very excited by that. In fact, it's been a brilliant way for me to get to know people. So I can thoroughly recommend it if you're perhaps feeling like me that you didn't know too many people locally. Then this is just a great way to meet people and to work together for a common cause. So that's the Selsey Passion Play. It's going to take place on Good Friday, which is April the 14th this year, a little bit later than in 2016. And it will take place at St. Peter's Churchyard at about 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Now, I'm not going to give too much more away about it because, of course, I do want you to come and see it. So I shan't say any more than that. It is going to be a free performance and we'd love to see as many people as we can join us and having a look at exactly what the Selsey Community Drama team have managed to come up with. So I look forward to seeing you. More importantly, if you would like to get in touch, then feel free to do so. My name is Alison Gaunt. My husband's name is David. He's at home manning the phone for me. Our number is 601 617. That's 601 617. So that's Alison and David Gaunt, responsible for the play. You could also contact me by email if you prefer to be a little more anonymous. I don't mind. The address for that is alison.gaunt, you spell that Gaunt, at yahoo.co.uk. So do feel free to get in touch with me, have a word about what might be involved, however small or large you think your contribution might be, then I would really love to hear from you. And I look forward to seeing you on April the 14th. Thank you for listening. Bye for now.
Thanks, Alison. A challenging activity, and let's support her with this very firm favourite. Now with spring approaching, it's time to get the garden into good shape, so here is the welcome return of David with his expert advice.
Hello, and I'd like to talk today a bit more about what to do in January and February. We'll start with the lawn, which is probably the most major part of your garden. There isn't a great deal to do at this time of the year. Certainly you should be removing leaves, and especially don't be walking on it in the frost. Some people have poo-pooed this idea, but I can assure you, if you walk on it in the frost, you will cause some damage to the lawn, which will be okay in the spring, but it won't look so good at the moment. Certainly you should have serviced your mower now, or be going to have it serviced, because it won't be long before, certainly in this part of the world, we'll be cutting the grass again. If the weather is quite good towards the end of February, you can continue turfing, and also at the same time, either repairing the edges of the lawn where it's been damaged by walking on it, and repairing any hollows or any ridges. Cut the lawn back neatly, fold the turf back, either add more soil or take away soil and firm the turf down again. Don't be doing this when it's frosty or when it's too cold, but certainly during February there'll be opportunities when you can be doing this. The borders, if the soil is not too wet and it's not too frosty, you can be digging over the border, getting it prepared for the spring. Breaking all the clumps up, taking up any of the perennial weeds and just tidying it up. You may have done this before Christmas, but you certainly need to be doing it before the spring gets coming along. As for trees and shrubs, if you haven't pruned your apple and your pear trees, you can be doing it now, but certainly not plums. If you prune plums at this time of the year, there's certainly the opportunity that you might get silverleaf, which will kill the tree later on. Continue to cut the wisteria back. If you did it in the summer, you can be cutting it back now to about 2 or 3 buds. Also with trees and shrubs, If you purchase any bare root trees and shrubs, you can be continually planting them, but again, you want the soil moist and crumbly and not frosty. If you've bought some bare root plants and it is too frosty, just heel them in somewhere or put them in a dry shed just so they won't be frosted. On the vegetable patch, hopefully now you're harvesting your parsnips and your kale and any other of your autumn and winter vegetables. But also you ought to be planning your rotation for next year, ordering the seeds, perhaps getting in your seed potatoes that are in the shops and in the garden centres at the moment. Also your onions. Most people will have possibly planted their onions for the winter, but there'll be some spring onions to go in as well. As for plants, I would have now started sowing sweet peas. Plant them in, put them in a cold frame or a cold greenhouse and get them shooting away. You don't want to keep them too warm because the last thing you want to do is get them too leggy. Get them too leggy, when you come to plant them out, they'll break off and you're back where you started from. Also your begonias, your salvias, lobelias, and even if you buy pelargonium seeds, plant them now. I was able to take some pelargonium cuttings quite late last season, and whilst I've had some loss due to downy mildew, I'm finding in a cold frame they're getting on quite well. I just gave them a bit of water this morning actually, and of the 40 I planted, I've probably got about 35, so the kill rate hasn't been too great. Other plants in the garden, the hellebores. The flowers will be coming out now, so cut off the old leaves so you can see the new blossoms coming through. Of the herbaceous plants, once you're doing the borders, you might decide that some of the clumps need cutting up. Get them up, divided. Usually the outside parts of the plant is what you want to be replanting. That's the new growth. That'll bring the best plants up. I've got quite a large group of begonias in my garden, the pink ones. And it's got to the stage really that I need to start cutting them up and replanting them. The flowering display isn't as good as it was or should have been for the last couple of years. Hedges, we spend a lot of time each year cutting the tops of the hedges and the sides of the hedges. Now is the time of the year to start clearing out the bottom, removing that bit of ivy that's growing through, removing those saplings of ash or of sycamore that are going through, the old crisp packets, just raking it all back, cleaning it out. And certainly I'd be putting fertiliser on probably in March. I wouldn't put on any at the moment, it's a bit too early. What you don't want to do is to stimulate too much lush growth. But if you look after the hedge at the bottom, you'll get better growth at the top later in the year. Cutting back. You'll have probably cut back most of the herbaceous perennials earlier in the season, but now is the time to cut back those grasses. The deciduous grasses, you need to cut back quite early before the new shoots start to come through. Otherwise all you'll be doing is taking off the tips. And the evergreen grasses, just take out the shoots that have died and won't be growing again. Over the next few weeks, what I'd like to do is to talk about what I've been doing in my garden. Several people have asked me what my garden has been. I've been here 2 years now, so we'll have an audio trip around my front garden next week. And then I'd like to talk about fragrant through the garden, fragrant through the year. Thank you.
Thanks, David. Good exercise there, and we now need some warm food. So let's see what is happening in Keith's kitchen.
Hi, and welcome once again to Keith's Kitchen. Well, another couple of very tasty dishes for you this week. And the first one is a lamb dish, and it's called Azerbaijani lamb pilau. And this will serve 4 people. And this is what we need. 2 to 3 tablespoonsful of vegetable oil, 650 grams of boneless lamb shoulder cut into 1-inch cubes, 2 onions roughly chopped, 1 teaspoonful of ground cumin, 200 grams of arborio rice, 1 tablespoonful of tomato puree, 1 teaspoonful of saffron threads, 100 ml of pomegranate juice, 850 ml of lamb stock or chicken stock or water even, 115 grams of ready-to-eat dried apricots or prunes halved, 2 tablespoonsful of raisins, some salt and pepper, and shredded mint and watercress to serve. And this is what we do. Heat the oil in a large flame-proof casserole or saucepan over a high heat. Add the lamb in batches and cook over a high heat, turning frequently for 7 minutes or until they're lightly browned. Add the onions and reduce the heat to a medium and cook for 2 minutes or until beginning to soften. Add the cumin and rice and cook, stirring to coat for 2 minutes or until the rice is translucent, and then stir in the tomato puree and the saffron threads. Add the pomegranate juice and the stock, bring it to the boil and keep stirring it. Stir in the apricots and raisins, reduce the heat to low, cover and simmer for 20 to 25 minutes or until the lamb and rice are tender and all the liquid has been absorbed. Season to taste with the salt and pepper, and then sprinkle the shredded mint and watercress over the pilau and serve straight from the casserole. Lovely and tasty. And our second dish for this week is spicy aromatic chicken. And this will serve 4 people. And you need 4 to 8 chicken pieces, depending on your appetite. These need to be skinned. Half a lemon cut into wedges. 4 tablespoonsful of olive oil. 1 onion, roughly chopped. 2 large garlic cloves, finely chopped. 125 millilitres of dry white wine. 400 grams of canned chopped tomatoes. A pinch of sugar. Half a teaspoonful of ground cinnamon. Half a teaspoonful of ground cloves, and a half a teaspoonful of ground allspice. And then we need 400 grams of canned artichoke hearts or okra, drained. 8 black olives, stoned. We get those olives stoned, don't make them smoke that stuff. And some salt and pepper. And this is what we do. Rub the chicken pieces with the lemon. Heat the oil in a large flame-proof casserole or lidded frying pan. Add the onion and garlic and fry for 5 minutes until it's softened. Add the chicken pieces and fry for 5 to 10 minutes until they're browned on all sides. Pour in the wine and add the tomatoes with their juice and the sugar, the cinnamon, the cloves, the allspice and the salt and pepper to taste and bring to the boil. Cover the casserole and simmer for 45 minutes to an hour or until the chicken's tender. And meanwhile, if you're using artichoke hearts, cut them in half. Add the artichoke hearts or okra and the olives to the casserole about 10 minutes before the end of cooking, and continue to simmer until it's all heated through and serve nice and hot. And that's another lovely tasty dish, spicy aromatic chicken. Thanks for listening this week, and we'll be with you again soon.
We've kept Kevin at bay, but no longer. Here is his brain exercise for the week.
Right, hiya, Kevin here with your weekly quiz questions. 5 questions, general knowledge questions. What connects the 5 answers? And here we go. Question number 1. Of the 26 different men who have won the Olympics 100 metres in athletics, 15 of them have shared the same nationality. What is their common nationality? Question number 2. Who, along with Bill Oddie, co-presented the BBC's Autumn Watch? And it's a lady. Who is she? Question number 3. You might need to look this one up on the internet. What was the name of William Wordsworth's home in the Lake District? What was it called? Question number 4. Which gourd-like squash associated with Halloween is used to make lanterns? And question number 5. Which glam rock band of the early 70s had a huge number 1 with the song Tiger Feet? Who were they? So there's your 5 questions. What are the answers? But what is the connection between all the answers? Good luck.
A challenging quiz again, and with that we have come to the end of the show. But make sure you tune in again for news of new features coming soon, along of course with our firm favourites. So it just remains for me to thank all our contributors, including Local Life magazine, our sound editor John Mallett, our presenters Alison, David, Kevin and Keith, not forgetting of course our producer John Fletcher. So it's goodbye from me, Tony Wiener, until next time, bye.